So as you know, the Minding Your Business podcast is brought to you on every Friday, powered by the Binge podcast network. That's www.onabinge.com. Make sure that you check out the network. We're building the lineup of shows and podcasters, both near and far. Thank you to my great partner in crime, Dominic Lawson of the Startup Life podcast, as well as Owls LLC. Man, we're working this thing together, man. And it's just really exciting to see what we're going to have ready for 2019. So if you're an existing podcaster or if you're looking to start a podcast, you need to get with us. You can email me, Ron, at themybpodcast.com. That's Ron at themybpodcast.com. As well as the Minding Your Business podcast is brought to you by Brooks Brothers Consulting. Brooks Brothers Consulting was started by my brother and I, Philip, back in June of 2013. It's coming up on, 6 years that we've been doing Brooks Brothers Consulting. We are a sales business development firm. We also do alternative financing for small business owners. So if you're looking to work kind of outside the banking network and get your business funded, we are the guys to help you do that. Currently, we're working with financial institutions around the country, helping them from a compliance standpoint with CRA, as well as with their retail and business banking functions and how they evolve that to service their customer base in their area. So if you need to get with us for business planning purposes or whatever that you're needing for your business to help edify and take it to the next level, you need partners in this. It's not something you're just going to bootstrap on your own. Sitting on Facebook and on social media. You can't post your way to build a business. You're going to have partners that are going to help you. And there are many that have been on this podcast throughout 2018, as well as ourselves. So brooksbrothersconsulting.com is the move that you need to make, brooksbrothersconsulting.com, and we will help you. We will work alongside with you and help develop how you're going to drive business to your company as you go into 2019. And we're extremely affordable for those that may be even on a shoestring budget. But we bring value and we expect value back. So that's what's up. Shout out to everybody on Facebook Live that's joining. Shout out to everybody that's on Spreaker. You can subscribe and listen, share the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Instagram, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud. Anywhere that you listen to podcasts, you can subscribe to the Minding Your Business podcast. We'd love to have you advertise with us. We're now reaching just north of 20,000 people between Facebook, between Spreaker, between our various platforms. These are folks that are looking for your product or service. And I encourage them to do so. So I encourage people of Minding Your Business Nation to put their money where their mouth is and support those that advertise and do business with us. So if you're interested in that, again, Ron at themybpodcast.com is the move you need to make. If you're interested in advertising on the Minding Your Business podcast or our lineup of podcasts that are on the Binge podcast network. So we've got plenty of options for you to get your message out there. Extremely affordable and a lot of value. Trust me, between what Dominic and I are doing, there's a lot of value in this. So you need to get with us. Don't be scared. Don't be timid. Don't be hating. Just do it. And we're going to want to work with you to help drive results. Listen, episode 75 is Ladies' Day on the Minding Your Business podcast. So we're ending 2018 with lady guests that are in the business world, folks that I respect and that I've been able to see grow and had a chance to see how they do business and hear how their customers talk about them, how they do business. And we're going to bring them on here. But first, let's get this thing popping.
What we do here is go back.
All right. I'm your host, Champron. This is episode 75 of the Minding Your Business podcast. So glad that you could join us on today. The sun's finally came alive here in Memphis. It was looking like Gotham City and the 1989 Batman movie for a minute. I mean, we didn't see the sun for a long time here in Memphis, and then I was in Pennsylvania a few weeks ago. I didn't see the sun up there, so I'm like, damn, I'm living like a vampire. Kennedy Johnson said, in business, you need as much knowledge as possible. You're right, brother. And Kennedy knows. Although Gigi's giving them a hard time here on Facebook Live, talking about don't shout out Kennedy Johnson. Definitely. And Darren, we're going to set that up. So definitely, man. Definitely. Shout out there again, everybody that is on Facebook Live, everybody that's on Spreaker.com. What's up with y'all? I see everybody there on Spreaker Live. And see, Spreaker, they jump on, just like my Facebook, they jump on quick with getting on here for the podcast. So they're here for class. Minding Your Business Nation is here in the house. So listen, today we've got two very special guests near and dear for me, as it's Ladies Business Owner Day. On this last episode of the Minding Your Business podcast before we get into 2019. So here's how it's going to go. I'm going to bring on my first guest. She is Miss Pearl Walker. And for those of you that aren't in the Memphis area, Pearl for a number of years has been part of the business ecosystem on a number of different fronts, whether it's working in the community, working with both men and women business owners, hosting networking events, hosting expos and things of that nature. And now she's getting into politics. And so we're going to bring her on. And then my second guest is going to be Miss Jenni Graham, who is the owner of JChic Lifestyle. And that's a styling firm. It started as a boutique and it has evolved into a styling firm where she's working with women and men or now around the country. I think she's down in Atlanta now doing some things. But I was fortunate to be part of it, or at least involved in her beginnings. And so I'm very aware of her story, and I think her story will inspire some of you who have gone through and taken your lumps in the game we call business ownership. And so she's going to join us here after Pearl. And then at the end, I'm going to go through my quick rundown, summarizing 2018 and what you should look for in 2019 as you progress, whether it's in your business, on your job, with your family, and even for you personally. So that's the rundown on today. But first, let me bring on my first guest. And I'm going to see, she's going to join me via Facebook Live here in just a second. And that's going to be Miss Pearl Walker, as I mentioned earlier. And we'll give her just a second. You know, when you're working with the technology, you got to give everybody a second to get acclimated with it and whatnot. So there she is.
Hey.
What's up, Pearl? What's going on? Say what's up to Minding Your Business Nation here on Facebook Live, on Spreaker, and all around the world.
Hello to everyone. Am I looking in the right place now or now?
The second now.
I'm confused.
Yeah, the second now.
What?
Yeah, the second now you were looking just right. There you go. There you go. We get the technology rolling. So, listen, Pearl, thank you so much for joining. I've been wanting to get you on the podcast for forever because I respect what you do. I've seen what you do. I had an opportunity to be a part of some things that you've done in the community and all around in the business world. And I just believe in showing people the honor and respect, to their face as well as even behind their back. I don't go behind people's back like nunchucks. You know, I like talking to people directly, and I love to be able to have you on, and I think people will be inspired by your story. And so we've got several things to cover with you, of course. The first being, and we've got listeners kind of around the country, so those that are not familiar with Memphis, Tennessee, and particularly with Pearl Walker, Pearl, can you share kind of your background of kind of how you came up and how you've gotten to this point in life?
Sure. Well, when I was in my 20s, I decided that I wanted to own my own business.
Okay.
And, of course, you would know that there are an endless number of things to do out there. And this was on the other side of all this technology, the internet, and things that we have now to make things more attainable. I won't necessarily say easier, but in certain respects, when it comes to certain things, there's still not any shortcuts. But my aunt, the late Bertil Benson, she had a hair salon at 660 Williams Avenue off of Mississippi, and that's in the historical Soulsville district.
Yes.
And so it was interesting, Ron, when we were in high school, her granddaughter and myself, she wanted us to take up cosmetology. Well, we weren't in college and all that kind of stuff, but at some point in my 20s, I decided that I wanted to own my own business, and this just seemed like a great path to do it. So I did go to hair school. I finished up, and I had attended college. I left with enough hours. I was classified as a senior, but I didn't have enough hours in anything to graduate because I kept changing my major.
Of course, yeah, that happens.
A lot of interest, and you just can't home in on one interest.
Right.
I'll just put it like that.
Exactly.
But anyway, so I pursued the field of cosmetology, and at that time I was doing relaxers, and I've done everything, including jerry curls. I've worked with different racial and ethnic groups, and so I've done everything when it comes to cosmetology. I was actually in and out of the salon for a portion of that time. I got my license in 1988. At some point, I became a cosmetology instructor, but rather than work in the traditional hair schools, I chose the path of, I like doing expos and workshops and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But I was in hair on and off over the years, went back to school, got my degree. So what you do when you get your degree, you get a job that requires a degree because that's what you want to do with it, right? So
right.
I became a reference librarian. You probably didn't know this. I became a reference librarian.
Okay, no, I didn't know that.
In the link department.
Yep, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I have all this trivia and data and stuff in my head that I don't get to use too often, but sometimes it comes in handy. And then while I was working at the library, I became pregnant, and I had this daydream about being a single parent.
Okay.
And self-employed, so I decided to go back into the salon. My son, Nine, that's N-Y-N-E, Ether, he was born in March of 1999, and then that June, while I was on maternity leave from the library, I resigned and I went back into the salon. This was in June of 99 with this new natural hair specialty.
Okay.
And it's been a good run. I'll speed the story up. So around 2003, I was reading this article in Black Enterprise magazine where they were interviewing Tavis Smiley.
Okay.
And he was talking about this thing called branding. And it was very new back then.
Right, what a concept.
It was very new back then. And it was actually what I was trying to do, or called myself doing for myself, and the salon of the family salon, referencing my aunt again. So I took it over in 2000 from her daughter, Magnolia Johnson. And but I was reading this article, and the stuff Tavis was talking about, I was like, this is what I'm trying to do, but I didn't know it had a name called branding. But anyway, so I know, right?
Right.
So, I took some tips from that article and came up with this name. My middle name is Eva. It's actually Pearl Eva Walker. So it said something about having a name, and I was Pearl Eva, the hair diva.
And my goodness.
Too long for a business card, the domain, or whatever, but I was using that, and then I shortened it to Hair Diva, and a lot of people know me as Hair Diva still. A lot of people only know me as Hair Diva. They don't even know Pearl Walker, but so moving on with that, so I can definitely say that I'm one of the groundbreakers for natural hair in Memphis and the Mid-South. At this particular point, I'm not doing the day-to-day grinding of clients like I used to, but I do still service some clients, and I love them dearly. But my passion right now is being in front of people, the workshops, the expos, things like that. Actually, me and a colleague here another local stylist and friend, Celeste Harris, we produce one of the few independent cosmetology and barber instructor continuing education courses in the state of Tennessee.
Oh, wow.
So cosmetology is regulated on the state level, cosmetology and barbering.
Right.
So what's required with respect to those fields vary from one state to another. And in the state of Tennessee, cosmetology and barber instructors are required in conjunction with their license renewal. And so Celeste and I, we offer one of those seminars. This year was our third year, and it has grown every year, and we're very proud of that. And so it's 2 days of different techniques, theory, things like that. And also, I want to back it up a little bit. So in 2008, I was appointed by former Governor Phil Bredesen and reappointed in 2012 by outgoing Governor Bill Haslam to the Tennessee Cosmetology Board. So I'm actually the first cosmetologist. I have a cosmetology license, not a natural hair license, but I'm the first stylist in the history of the state of Tennessee to be appointed to the Cosmetology Board. So that was a big deal for me as well. And like you say, I've been involved in some other things in the community. And so to bring it full circle, I am active in politics, and I did apply for one of the vacant seats. This is not an election. A lot of people think it's an election, but it's actually 3 seats that became vacant as a result of this last election.
Yes.
And so they have 3 seats to fill, and I applied for the vacancy, Super District 8 position 2, that was held by the new juvenile court clerk, Janice Love.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for bringing that all full circle. And I want to get into the politics side of the house with you because I think that's very interesting, and I'm very excited about that. But going back to your story, as you're coming up in the cosmetology field, and you talked about kind of getting the job, and I think a lot of people can relate to that story, Pearl. And then of course you had your son and things like that. What were some of the challenges that you really faced? I know, through that you had some really good and joyful times, but what were some, what are 1 or 2 like major challenges or difficulties that you found as you were kind of going through the cosmetology ranks, and, it's evolving, the industry's evolving, you're evolving. What were 1 or 2 challenges that you faced that you had to overcome?
I think that one of the challenges, being a natural hairstylist, going into that area when I did, which was about 20 years ago, and it was so new. I mean, natural hair is what we have, it's what we're born with, but to pursue it as a profession, a lot of people didn't take me seriously. They didn't understand. I had friends and relatives to come to me a few years later, several years later. I didn't understand what you were doing. I thought you were crazy. I see what you're doing now. And so,
right.
to answer your question, just getting the understanding and respect for that particular area of cosmetology, in which a lot of people still don't, value it and take it seriously the way they should.
Yeah, exactly.
Another thing is definitely the schedule. Being a single parent and just managing that with, school activities and things like that. And then I guess third is a lot of times wanting to do something with your business, but you may not be able to necessarily afford it. So sometimes you bite the bullet, you spend the money, or you wait until you have the money, or you can be creative. For instance, the Sisterhood Showcase. I've done the Sisterhood Showcase a few times. Sometimes I was there in someone else's booth, or I went in with other stylists and we split the cost. Mm-hmm. And so we still had the same the same access, but it didn't cost us what it normally would have been. And I would say that one year it was 8 of us, and we got a double booth, and so it was on 2 corners. And see, something, and you have to be strategic. I'm so serious about my vending when I'm a vendor. I love to have a corner booth.
Right.
When you have a corner booth, you have 3 sides instead of 1 side.
Right.
Or you can possibly have 2 to 3 sides instead of the 1 side facing. And so with that extra side, you can bring your own table there and have another table, another counter. But so we did the Sisterhood Showcase one year. It was 8 stylists. They put us on a corner, but it was 2, just a double aisle. I guess I'm describing it correctly. So we had 3 sides, and the front side was probably 20 feet across. So what did we do there? We promoted ourselves. We didn't do a lot of hairstyling. We did consultations. We built our database. We collected names and addresses. And that's another thing. The strength is in the list.
Right.
And so it's very important. And I've done that, but not as consistently as I should have. But now I'm on top of it now. I have a new person, and she's great. But yeah, the strength is in the list. And we networked, passed out our cards, and so yeah, you have to be creative. So that the price tag on that booth was about $1,700. It was about $1,700, but we split the cost between 8 people.
Gotcha. Well, there you go, and that's how you have to be economical. And I always say that in business ownership, you do what you got to do, and then you can do what you want to do. And so, a lot of times, we start where we do what we want to do first, and that gets sometimes a lot of us in trouble. And I'm guilty of that as well. I want to start out in business doing what I want to do instead of what I need to do or what I can do. And so, it's glad to hear that you understand how to be economical and to be creative in order to get done what you're looking to get done as it relates to it from a business standpoint. So I appreciate you sharing that, Pearl. Let's get into politics real quick. So you mentioned, getting into, the vacant seat that has been vacated by Miss Janice Fully Love. Of course, I was excited about that. What drew you to politics?
Progression for me. I've been around politics all my life, directly and indirectly, through friends and family members, and through being active in the community. I guess activism, community service is kind of like a first cousin to politics. Some people may disagree with that, but most recently, in 2015, I started this group on Facebook called Memphis Raise Your Expectations. Y'all got that? Get that? Memphis Raise Your Expectations. So it's now I had these notifications coming in, but MRYE, Memphis Raise Your Expectations on Facebook.
Yes.
And send me a request to join, and I'll be glad to add you. But anyway, in 2015, in the spring of 2015, I started that page. And so the reason why I started the page is because I judged that certain topics were not the best fit for my personal page. I was wanting to keep it rather light, not too light, but I like to deal with meaningful topics as well as, fun things. But back to the branding, I think that especially if you're in business or you're a public person, your page is important. Your page is part of your brand. And so there were just certain things that weren't appropriate for my personal page. So
Sure.
I started that page. And I started it with 19 people. And I'd have to check the number, but the last time I looked, it was like at about 3,900 plus. So we're almost at 4,000 people. And so also in 2015, that was the year of our last municipal election, city of Memphis, that is. And so where we picked council people, a mayor, and some other positions. And I actually did a ballot. It was called the Hair Diva ballot for a new style
of
leadership. And people use ballots. People use ballots. People create ballots. There's a lot of controversy around ballots. You may have 3-4 different ballots out there. They all say that they are produced by the, let's say, the Shelby County Democratic Party. So there's a lot of controversy surrounding ballots. Some people think that they're not necessary. Some people still believe in them. But I did a ballot. But back to saving the cost, what I did was we just used it electronically. And so there was a certain criteria, and we had a point system, and just based on how I was seeing things and feedback that I was getting from people on the page. But if you were over 60, points were taken away. If you were under 40, you got the most points. Between 40 and 60, you did get some points, but not as many as the people who were under 40. So that was to definitely support younger people.
Okay.
You got points for being female. We did subtract if you were male.
I was about to say.
But you did get points for being female. What else was there? Oh, legacy candidates. So if you had a certain last name that's being used over and over again, or just over, then we subtract the points for that as well. So, and there was some other criteria also. Unlike a lot of ballots, we didn't charge people to be on the ballot.
Okay.
However, there was a $25 application fee. The $25 went to the graphic designer. So we didn't make any money off the ballot, and I felt real good about how I approached that and what we ended up coming up with. Only one candidate on the ballot won, and that was Councilman Martavius Jones. He's now representing Super District 8, Position 3.
Yes.
So with the ballot, with the page, we talk about everything on the page, but it is a very political, social, conscious page, and it is the go-to page. And this is not ego. This is people telling me running into people in Walmart or here or there. So the page is all that, and so that ushered me onto a new level as it relates to the politics. I have to say, and this year we hosted a forum on IRV at Minglewood, and they put it on the page for, okay, we do it, because they wanted to do a debate for the election, but it wasn't enough time to put that together.
Okay.
And they said, well, then a little bit later they said something about doing something with IRV, and I was like, and they said, and you can host it. I was like, okay, sure, well, we need a venue. And run about 3 hours later, I had a venue, Minglewood Hall. Can you believe it?
Wow. Yeah.
Shout out to Kelly and her husband. I don't want to say the wrong name, but shout out to them.
Right.
Two of the members of the page got Minglewood Hall for me, this couple, and the guy, he's actually one of the sound technicians at Minglewood, so that's how that happened. But we do a meet and greet once a year. Tom Jones, he's a political consultant, strategist. He was the guest speaker at our meet and greet this year, and that was at #Whitehaven Library. And so, but yeah, so the page, right. So people said, well, you should run. And I'm thinking about it for next year, but I decided to go on and seek the appointment. And a lot of people have been asking me, but one of my mentors, Catherine Lewis, we're members in Inward Journey get together, and when she said it just resonated with me a particular way. So anyway, here I am.
There you go. All right. Yeah, thank you for that. And so as you're getting into this, you're looking for this appointment. What's your platform? Or what were you? I know you're not necessarily running in an election per se, but what's kind of your platform, or what do you look to accomplish, or and what value do you look to bring to the council?
Okay, I'll speak to the latter of that, since it's not an actual election. I don't want to use the word platform, but the typical things are of concern to me. My take is unique as it relates to my customers and the people that I'm able to relate to in the community. I know that I relate to a broader base than the average person. I have the pleasure, the opportunity of interacting in Memphis's different social circles, different economic circles. And as a yoga instructor, I didn't mention I became a yoga instructor earlier this year. I got my certification in May. So viewing, yes.
Yeah, Pearl, you do it everything.
Viewing Memphis in the context of yoga is really out of balance. And so not to beat a drum over and over, we hear about, the ongoing poverty report and especially to you all listening around the country. Yeah, depending on whose information you look at, Memphis is the poorest or the second poorest metropolitan city around the country. So keyword is metropolitan, of cities of a certain size. So, but going back to this balance, I would like to address things from a more holistic perspective and help to bring balance to Memphis. When we talk about pilots and TIFs and things like that, a lot of that goes over folks' heads, and I don't have an issue with those things. We need those things. They help make things happen, and they represent progress. But I want to see TIFs all over. I want to see another approach. I don't have the attitude. I don't want to be a bull in a China store and just going in and wreaking havoc. It doesn't work like that. Anything that I bring forth, I have to get support from 6 other people on the council. It takes 7 votes to get something through. I think that they're doing a good job with respect to certain things, and with respect to other things, maybe we can just look at it from another perspective. Of course, people are concerned about crime, but you just can't talk about crime if you're not going to talk about poverty, if you're not going to talk about workforce development. And within that realm, I'm particularly interested in some new and creative ways to address adult literacy in Memphis. There are a lot of people in Memphis that are functionally illiterate. They're up, they're out, but they don't have basic reading and comprehension skills. A lot of adults in Memphis are reading on the 3rd and 4th grade level. So that's something in particular that I would like to address. That's not exciting, and it comes with a piece of guilt and shame for some individuals. But in dealing with real life realities for Memphians, I would definitely like to do that, as well as work with corporate institutions to help them grow and take what they have already existing to the next level.
Yes, definitely, most definitely, and I appreciate you sharing that, and particularly with literacy. It's not the sexy topic. You're right. Sometimes it gets brushed under the rug, but there's a significant impact and trickle-down effect that illiteracy has in our community, particularly when you start talking about crime and things like that. And crime's a symptom of a number of different things. And I'm glad to hear that you're looking at solutions for that and not just the band-aids of it, because a lot of times in our political realm, from leadership, we look at the band-aids of more police, more cameras, more things to be reactive to crime. Or to create more of a police state that is just going to look at the punishment piece of it, and not what are we doing to curtail it? How are we providing solutions and then platforms for people to do something different? Whenever I see crimes or things come on the news, I always wonder. I see kids that are 19, 20, 21, 22, and I'm thinking, what else could we have them doing other than someplace with a pistol, or someplace with a knife, or someplace, beating up on somebody or doing something like that. What can we have them doing? And, more, just adding more police on the streets. All the police do is just react to when they're called. They're not preventing anything. Even, I mean, you see things happen like at Oak Court Mall. There are police everywhere there, and they're still that doesn't stop anything. And so, when you're talking about addressing, illiteracy and things like that, Pearl, for real, I commend you on that, because that's something that's not always at the forefront, but it's a solution to, at the adult level, but even at the youth level. If you're not reading at the third grade level, studies show this, that you're going to struggle, for life. You're going to struggle for life if you can't read beyond the third grade level, and certainly at your level that you reach in your life. If you can't read at that level, and then you can't comprehend what's being told to you and what you see, you're going to struggle in a lot of areas, and people lose confidence. And when people lose confidence in their ability to learn and the ability to perform, they seek other things that they can be good at. Right?
Yeah, and so back to an earlier point about the branding, literacy could use some branding.
Yes.
Brand it, package it, put it out there where it would be, more appealing. And I would also, say incentive-based literacy programming, and also maybe as a deterrent, but not a deterrent, but to offset some sentencing. Let's say it's not a major crime, but if you agree to go to this place and be tested, take a remedial and a comprehensive exam, and based on that assessment, maybe we can make some adjustments with your sentence, and depending on how short it is or how light it is, maybe we can offer you, well, if you go through this program, then we'll write this off. So I have some other ideas, and talking to people, you always have the issue, well, how are you going to pay for that? Well, how are you going to pay for this? So I'm
the way you do with everything else.
Information.
Right. Yeah, you pay for it like you do everything else. You find you make a way, and you adjust, and you look at what you prioritize and what's really important. So you're always going to get that. Hey, maybe you can take some of that money that they got on GoFundMe to build that wall. Then you could use that.
I know, right? Well, how much is it now?
I think
I'm
it's
not keeping up with it, but
what is it like? $18 million or something like that? It's something crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's something crazy to build a wall.
I can make it rain with 18 million.
Yeah, hey, look, I can make a few possums dance with that. I can make a few possums dance with 18 million. So Pearl, what, as we conclude, because you and I could sit and talk all day about this, but I know you're busy, and I appreciate your time. As last to kind of close out, what's some advice you would give, business owners as they're going into 2019? You're rounding out 2018. Some people had struggles this year. Some people, it was a phenomenal year. What's a nugget or two that you would share with some folks that are starting business? Maybe they've been in business a long time. Maybe they're having to reinvent themselves. What's just some overall advice or wisdom you could part on folks as they go into 2019?
Okay, well, as far as the marketing and promotions are concerned, I worked with James Davis, MLE. I don't know if you know James Davis or not, but
yeah,
he's my graphic designer. He does some very attractive flyers for me and a few other things when I can afford it. But a lot of times you can't afford to pay for things, and so you have to do them yourself. And as a result of doing things myself, I have acquired I'll still say modest skill set as it relates to marketing, PR, branding, and I've done some things in that area. And I had the opportunity to work with some energy justice issues this year, community engagement, and doing some assessment based on that. But to tie that into your question, if there's certain things that you do need, I'm gonna bring that on home. There's certain things that you do need, and if you can't afford to pay for it, find out a way to do it for yourself. But I see a lot of people, they still don't understand the value and the importance of advertising and promoting themselves, and it's really no excuse because of social media. Social media, no, this is not the cure-all, but
Right.
you need to be doing something. I know people who are in business, and I see them on social media, and I never see anything about their business or them talking about their business or anything like that. So why are you here?
Right.
Yeah, so, but moving into 2019, I would say business cards are very important. Don't let yourself run out of business cards unless you just don't need to have them. But even if it's not for your business, you want a way that people can get in touch with you. But business cards are very important. And just because you pass out 1,000 business cards doesn't mean that you're going to have 1,000 customers. That's not what that's about. That's
Right.
a numbers game. We're dealing with probability. And back in the day when I was just really passing out a lot of cards, I mean, every so often a person would say, I have your card already. I have your card already.
Right.
And so you have to sometimes, do it with a vengeance, but business cards are very important. It's not enough just to have a business card. The layout is important. The font size. You want a card that's readable. I was in a class recently, and the presenter, she was good, but her business card, it was light gray with white writing.
Okay.
And you can, and so and she had some great writing too, darker gray, but that white writing, you couldn't see that. It wasn't readable. And people do the same thing with flyers. You want your flyer and your business card to be a marketing piece to say something about yourself. Not too many fonts, 2 or 3. If you want to just use one font, that's fine. But make sure the card is readable with respect to the font, the size, and the contrast between the colors, light and dark. Secondly, and I should have mentioned this when we were talking about the political scene, but
Yeah.
next year will be Memphis's 200th anniversary.
Yes,
if
yes,
you are
yes.
in a business and you can harness that some type of way, you should look into that. And then also overhead, manage overhead. Overhead, you're going to have overhead. Don't be afraid of overhead, but crunch the numbers and try not to overextend yourself. But you're going to have overhead in business, and a lot of times people sell themselves short. They're not at their potential because they are afraid of overhead. But you're going to have overhead, even if it's just those business cards that I just talked about. And back to the technology, you can get nice cards from Vistaprint. There are different sites that allow you to do flyers, but just remember what I mentioned earlier, because I can tell a difference with those homemade flyers and
Right.
ones that have been done by a graphic designer from a marketing perspective. And get information. Don't be afraid to get information, get continuing education, and just get as much information about what it is that you're pursuing. A lot of people, none of us know everything. And
No,
there is
not
this
at all.
realm out there of that which we do not know. But a lot of people don't think in terms of there's information out there that they don't know. They just deal from a consciousness of what they do know. But get the information, get as much information as you can. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And I'm telling y'all, don't be on this Facebook and you have a business and people don't know that you are in business. If you're ashamed to tell people or to promote yourself, then maybe you haven't chosen
Right.
the right thing. But Ron mentioned earlier, they have some things to offer you to help you, and don't be afraid of that. And I'll close with this. If you have a product,
Mm-hmm.
you need to know how much it costs you to make that product.
Yes, you do.
I talk to people, Ron, and they say, well, what do you think I need to charge for this? And I'm like, how much did it cost you to make it? Well, I don't know.
No, yeah,
You need to know how much that cost you, and then you move on from there.
Yeah, and we need to talk with those people. You do, and me as well. So you come across those people, I need to talk to them. Because they definitely need help. They've got a product and they don't know how much it's costing them to acquire it, and then to turn around and reproduce it and sell it. Then they definitely need help. So, yep, they definitely need help. No, you're fine. You're fine. So, great nuggets. Pearl Walker, our guest today on the Minding Your Business podcast, Miss Pearl Walker. Pearl, listen, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Best wishes to you on the appointment to the city council. You have support. You have my support, and you have the support of others that I'm aware of. And we're definitely looking towards the next city council meeting where they will vote and look to make those appointments. And
hopefully they'll vote.
Hopefully they'll vote.
So we've had 3 meetings in a row where nothing happened. So
yeah,
that's January the 8th, 3:30 at City Hall. But hopefully they'll vote.
Yep, definitely. And Pearl, how can people get in contact with you? If people want to reach out to you, I know you mentioned the group, MYRE, Memphis Raise Your Expectations is the Facebook group. You need to send a request to Pearl so that she can accept you. Now, if you're with the foolishness now, she might not accept you. So now let me go and say this. So don't come with no foolishness, because Pearl's probably not going to accept foolishness. But if you're coming and you're going to contribute to the group, MYRE, Memphis Raise Your Expectations. But how else can they communicate with you, Pearl?
Sure, they can inbox me. I have a personal page, Pearl Walker, and then this other page. But you can tell the difference in the pages. The one with all the traffic, that's inbox me there, or my number, 901-289-6909. That's 901-289-6909. I really do appreciate this opportunity today.
Yeah, and Pearl, thank you so much. I appreciate this as well. Thank you for your time. Again, best wishes to you, and if it could be a resource, to communicate with me. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Happy holidays.
Thanks, Pearl. All right, so that was Pearl Walker joining us today on the Minding Your Business podcast. She shared some really interesting and some good nuggets with us on today. So again, it's Memphis Raise Your Expectations. It's a Facebook group, y'all. So MYB Nation, we've got our group, the Minding Your Business community. That's also on Facebook. But make sure you join that one as well. MYRE, Memphis Raise Your Expectations. Shout out to everybody who's joined on Facebook Live. There's been some conversation going on there, support for Pearl and whatnot. So I'm glad to see that. James, Antonia, what's going on? Greg, how you doing? Elgin, how you doing? Joycelyn, Rashonda, Jamisha, how you doing? Mr. Stimler, Bill Stimler, thank you so much for joining on today, and then everybody that's still on Spreaker. So, again, thank you to Pearl Walker joining us today. And look her up, learn a little bit more about her as you connect with her. And for those that are in Memphis, as she's looking for the appointment for the city council, definitely consider her, as well as look at the folks for the other 2 positions that are going to be voted on, as Pearl mentioned, January the 8th. And if you're not in Memphis and you want to be able to support, I'm sure Pearl would appreciate your support. And look at some of the similar opportunities in your city, wherever you are, if you're looking to get involved politically and be part of improving the means of production in your city and in your state and in your country. All right? So, listen, we're going to take just a quick break, and I want you to hang tight with me because I want to bring on our next guest, Miss Jenni Graham. So, hang tight, and I'll be right back. All right. So thank y'all so much. And we thank again Miss Pearl Walker. Thank you for taking that little break with me. And I'm extremely excited for our next guest that's going to join. I told you this is Ladies' Day in Business on the Minding Your Business podcast. And of course, I'm your host, Champ Ron. And I've got someone that, I was so excited about, man. I couldn't even just lay down good. I was excited about having her join today, just knowing and understanding her story and what she's been through and how she's evolved and how she's driving success through 2018 and looking into 2019. But I've got a special guest, and many of you know her that are around Memphis, and some of you that are here joining around the country may or may not be familiar with, but if not, you're going to get familiar with. I've got Miss Jenni Graham on with JChic Lifestyle. Jenni, what's up? Yeah, what's going on? Let's see, can I hear? Oh, did I lose her? I think I might have lost her. Did I lose Jenni? Let's get Jenni back. I think I might have lost her. Jenni, come back.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, I think I lost you for a second. That was my fault. Yeah, there you go. She's back. There you go. She come. I think she had to go make some money real quick and come right back. That's how quick Jenni making it happen. She jump off, go make 100,000, come right back.
You know how we do.
What's up, girl? How you doing?
I am doing well. Everything is good, Ron.
Yeah. Listen. Let me get into this. Like I was telling people, man, I was so excited to have you on. Man, I had trouble laying down. I had to. Man, I don't know. I had to get up and get me a couple glasses of water. I had to calm my nerves. But
my goodness.
So man,
it's definitely mutual. I'm excited as you are to be here.
Yeah, definitely. And so let's get right into it, Jenni, because with you being in business, and you've always had an interesting story that I've admired. And for those that aren't familiar with your story, tell the audience a little bit about your background and kind of how you've gotten to where you are.
Okay, yeah, I would love to do that. So, just a little small, down home country girl from Newberry, South Carolina. Very humble beginnings, and I just really took life by the horns. Went through a lot. There was, of course, growing up, we do that as easy as we knew it back then. But coming into who I am today, a lot of trials and adversities, but just overcoming and staying close to God, and here we are. So just a little bit of background. I am the senior style advisor and owner of the JChic Lifestyle brand. That brand has been was birthed about 7 years ago, almost 7 years now. And through the many ups and downs of entrepreneurship, I have found a way to sustain and to still be here. Celebrated 3 years as a full-time entrepreneur back in October. So
yes.
Yes,
that was. I was excited about that. 3 years in entrepreneurship as a business ownership. That's phenomenal.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I give all glory to God. There's nothing I can do without Him. But through His grace and mercy, I am still here. 7 years in the game, 3 years full time, and just taking the world by storm and putting my style stamp all over the world. That's what it is. Yeah,
definitely, Jenni. And so, talk a little bit about the business, with JChic. How did it start? How has it evolved over the years? And who's kind of your target market or target client?
Okay, well, JChic was born from a need to see what I didn't see in the marketplace. So I've always had this thing for fashion. I've always been stylish. I've always loved all things style and fashion. But what I was finding was that everybody was looking the same. Nobody really had an identifiable look. And people always said, oh, I don't want to look like everyone else. I don't want to dress like everyone else. But when you looked at it, all they were doing was wearing what the stars were wearing.
Right.
And so what I did was I took my love of fashion and my love for style, and I identified what the JChic style looks like. And I took that and I translated that into the pieces I would order for my boutique, and later on into the custom pieces that I would make myself. Because one thing is, you never want to walk into a room and have a twin.
Right.
I am a twin, and I still don't want to walk in the room
right.
and have a twin. So,
yeah, shout out to Jody, too.
Yay, shout out to Jody. Yeah, so it was definitely a need for a new look, and not just new, but still staying true to each client. So I have a customized experience that I give to each client. I do give them the JChic look, but I also allow them to stay true to what their look is. And the way that I do that, I say that I identify, enhance, and portray your personal style statement to the world. So first you have to find out what it is, so I identify it.
Okay.
We have to enhance it and make it better, and then we have to portray that to the world. So it's a 3-step process that I take with each one of my clients, and I take it very, very seriously.
Definitely, and I know you do. And Jenni Graham is our guest today here on the Minding Your Business podcast. And, Jenni, you talk about people building up kind of their personal brand and their personal look. And, what kind of condition do people need to be when they get to you? Can they be toe up from the floor up, or do they have to have it all together? Or, what condition do I need to be when I reach out to you?
Well, when you go to worship and they say, come as you are, then that's when you come to JC, you can come as you are. I have my clients run the gamut from, I don't know if I want to call them toe from the floor, but hey, you said it, I didn't.
Right.
But no, seriously, you can come from not knowing anything about style, not knowing anything, even you may not even know what your personal style is. You can come from that, or you can come to me knowing, okay, this is my style. I just need you to help me to find pieces that fit into that style. So wherever you sit on that spectrum, JChic is going to tailor that experience to you so that if you need all the help in the world, we're going to give you all the help in the world. If you need just a couple of tweaks here and there, then we're going to give you that. No matter where you fall on that range, we're going to take care of you.
Yeah, definitely. And so, I always like to ask, business owners, Jenni, in terms of, I know that you've experienced great joys in your business, and it's definitely, your baby, and you take the brand extremely seriously. What are 1 or 2 challenges that you faced as you've built the business? I mean, you're in a marketplace that has, a lot of players. And, there's a lot of fanfare, like you talked about, with the stars and with fashion in general. So, what are some challenges that you faced as you've worked to standing out as you have, in your industry?
Okay, well, I'll speak to 2 challenges. The biggest challenge that I faced most recently, and I'm still facing it, as you all know, if you know me, you know I was really, really heavy on Facebook. Facebook was like my baby. I used it a lot, the live videos. I did a lot of paid ads and a lot of, my presence was there, built kind of my personal brand on Facebook. I've been on there for about 10 years. Well, recently, back in November, around the middle of November, my Facebook page was hacked and subsequently disabled.
Oh, wow.
And
damn.
Yes, and it was a blow because I had built up a community of around 23,000 people that I was connected to in between my personal page, my business page, and my VIP group that I no longer had access to because my page was disabled. So that was a big challenge for me.
Yeah.
But one thing about me as a person and also as a brand is resilience is a word that I really stick by. So what I did, and I'm glad that I had built up a community outside of Facebook. So
Sure.
I still had my Instagram, I still had my email marketing list, my in-person marketing, my word of mouth, and the brand that I had already built. So I was able to still communicate with my clients. I was able to still gain new clients, but it was a challenge. And what that taught me, I use every challenge as a lesson, and what that taught me was to not put all of your effort in marketing in one place. Gladly, I hadn't done that, but what if I had? What if Facebook was all I had and I hadn't built up anything else elsewhere? My business would basically be gone. So I tell all business owners, whether you're building a personal brand or a business brand, please, 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 please learn from me, and don't put, like they say, all of your eggs in one basket. Be sure to diversify your marketing efforts and reach your people outside of social media, because you don't own social media. So I still have my website. Gladly, I was able to, to still reach the people, but don't put all of your stock into social media when it's not something that we own that can be gone tomorrow.
Right.
So that was one big challenge. And then another challenge that I faced was staying authentic in a copycat world. We see so many, gurus and coaches and people that are even in the same industry as you, and we follow them. We follow them on social media. We follow them in real life. We go to their events. We communicate with them. We look at them. And it's a thin line in between being inspired and emulating or just straight up imitating.
Right.
So, finding that thin line and finding that balance in between, what this person inspires me, I love their work, I love what they're doing, but not taking that and just saying, okay, bam, I'm going to take what they're doing and I'm going to put my name on it, and hey, this is JChic's thing.
Right.
So it's really a challenge in, staying true to what works for you. And I think part of that challenge I have met by knowing that everyone is not my target client. So, Susie over here may be doing a great job as a stylist and as a boutique owner and as a designer, and her target client may be totally different from mine. So I have to say, okay, Susie, you know what? You inspire me. I love what you're doing. You're doing great things out here, but that doesn't take from JChic. JChic is still going to do what JChic does. Susie does what Susie does, and we're going to be competitors, but not competition.
Yeah.
And that speaks a lot to what I'm on, which is collaboration over competition. Like, how can we work together? How can we team together to take over the marketplace as opposed to everything being a competition? So those are a couple of challenges and how I overcame them.
Yeah, and Jenni, thank you for sharing that, and I appreciate your transparency in that, because, and that was one thing that I was going to ask you about the industry, because it seems like sometimes it can be a kind of a dog-eat-dog world where a lot of times, and it's mostly, it's a women-dominated industry from certain standpoints, but in other standpoints not. But you see a lot of competition, and you see, sometimes with business owners altogether, regardless of industry, you'll see a lot of people that are grossly intimidated by others, and thus they tend to be very, I guess, they take the attitude of wanting to inflict on others or not willing to work with others because, they see them, like say, as gross, just, competition, as opposed to, and I've always said this, that, if people would learn to, for instance, FedEx and UPS on the surface always look like competitors, but they work together outside of their commercials and outside of what they often show the public. They work together, I would think quite well, or they have, and even with FedEx and the post office and things like that. So, a lot of people in business, especially early on, I think don't always understand that, there's so much more that you can achieve together than apart. And I always have lamented, our Facebook audience about, learning to work together. We all have limited resources, and we all are, all striving to get to that certain place. And if we can work together, we can all achieve our goals. As opposed to always working against each other or being negative or nasty or condescending or things like that. So can you kind of speak to that, and particularly for your industry as you've seen that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, Ron, we've known each other for quite a while, and you know that I am definitely all about empowering each other as opposed to beating each other down. And yes, in business itself, it becomes easy because a lot of times what people think of is, oh, my competition is going to take money away from me.
Mm-hmm.
My competition, if they get out here and they blow up, then I'm going to be missing out on some clients that could be mine because they're going to my competition. So it's really important that we all recognize there's billions. I think it's now almost like 8 billion people in the world.
Right.
And the beauty, like for instance, the beauty industry is like a $405 billion industry. So if we've got billions of people and billions of dollars in spending power, then why would I feel like, my sister that's out here doing the same thing that I'm doing, she's going to take some money out of my pocket, so I'm not going to support her. I'm not going to send anybody to her. I'm going to talk bad about her, behind her back and try to discourage people from going to her or from talking to her. She hasn't done anything to me but glow up. How am I going to be mad at somebody glow up? Like, that makes no sense.
None at all. None at all.
How you can be mad at somebody's glow up. So me, myself, I'm more about, I know I can't service all of the whole world. This person may not even be in my target audience. Am I going to say because the competition, she might be in the competition's target audience, that I'm going to say, oh, yeah, no, I'm not going to send anybody to her because that's going to take money. No.
Right.
There's no way that I'm going to do that. So I think what we have to do is realize how much money there is out there and realize, how we can team up, how we can collaborate. Because one thing about it, the other races do it.
Mm-hmm.
They team up, they buy restaurants, they buy stores.
Right.
I know in the African community, they do something called a susu where they put their money together. Everybody puts in a certain amount, and in this 1 week, like just say if we're doing $1,000, everybody's gonna get their $1,000, and then 6 weeks down the road, it'll be time for you to get the whole $20,000, or however it may be. But we are so afraid of doing for others or allowing others to gain some glory or to gain some customers that we even block our own blessings.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, in the boutique industry, if we team together and went to these vendors and did these big bulk orders like the big stores do, we could get a much better price point. But no, you don't want to team up with me because you want to make sure it's just you that's in the spotlight. So we're paying triple and quadruple times what someone else would pay because they teamed up and made this big order as opposed to us going in as one store because we're afraid to collaborate. So I'm all about collaboration over competition. How can we help each other? How can it be a mutually beneficial relationship that we can help each other grow in the marketplace and not just be so concerned with self? So I'm really big about that. If you know me, you know I'm always shouting somebody else out. I don't care if they do the same thing I do. I don't care if they do a different thing. I don't care what it is. We as small business owners have got to connect more with each other. We have to.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm definitely all for that. And like you, my background has always been about collaboration, how to create platforms, for others, and so that we can work together. in the fashion like you mentioned. And so I hope everybody took that to heart. It looks like some people are responding here on Facebook Live and on Spreaker. So you're getting a lot of amens, a lot of hand claps.
Okay, I can't see it because I don't have Facebook anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say we got to get you back on, man. We gotta start a petition or something to get you back on.
I know, yeah. And you know what? I really think what I see is that it's women. Us women, y'all, we have got to get it together. And I'm not just saying all, but the majority of the disparity that you see in the marketplace and in the communities and in the workplace and things, it's women. Women, we got to do better. When men get an idea and they find out how they can team up with each other, they get it, they run with it. Okay, bro, I got you. How can we, baby, us women, oh no, she gonna be better than me. She gonna get the clients. And then it might be like, oh, right now, it's like we're sitting here talking, it's all good, but as soon as we hang up the phone, oh, girl, she thinks such and such and such and such. She thinks, no, we have got to, it's imperative, because if not, we already have a disparity in between how long the black dollar stays in the black community. We already have that disparity.
Right.
So when we add in the disparity of how women can't team up and can't collaborate with each other, so we're not circulating the black dollar. Then we turn around and we're not teaming up and collaborating with the black woman. We're in a lose-lose situation.
Yeah. We're
in a lose-lose situation, and it doesn't have to be that way. I'm not saying give away all your trade secrets. You got a recipe your grandma gave you, you don't want to. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that there are many ways that we can work together and that we can team up and be a force to be reckoned with, whatever our industry is.
Yep, exactly. And, it's counterintuitive, Jenny, I think, for a lot of people, because they weren't raised to think that way, because resources a lot of times are so short with us and so diluted and not really available. And so we're always in this hustle scrap mode. We're always competitive. And it works for us in industries like sports and entertainment and things like that, where competition is celebrated, and actually, it helps give people an edge. But then, in business, that doesn't necessarily work. Like, you can compete with people, like, from a friendly standpoint. And I'll give you an example. I shout out podcast on this podcast. Most people would not. Most people don't have the strength of character to do that. That doesn't make me better than anybody. That don't mean I'm smarter or anything like that. But most people don't have the strength of character to shout out or big up people that they feel like are in their lane. And I'll tell you why I do it. It's not the grandstand. It's not anything like that, Jenny. But when I shout out other podcasts, what happens is the more podcasts that people listen to, the more I'm included in that. Like, if people don't know, like, podcasting for some communities is still kind of a fairly new thing. So the more I can big up podcasting as an industry, and the more, like, when people say they're interested in getting into podcasting, I get excited. I encourage people, man, do it. It's a great way to market. It's a great way to, like you mentioned earlier, differentiate yourself. We've got people right now. I've got people on Spreaker right now all around the country. They're loaded up here in San Francisco, California, which is actually my number one market. So shout out to all of you guys. Memphis, they're here. Dallas. I'm talking to people around the country. I've got one guy that's listening over in Russia. No collusion, by the way, so there ain't no Trump stuff going on. But he's over in Russia. He listens to every episode. And so, that's my thing. I shout out my brother Dominic here with the Startup Life. I consider him my big brother in podcasting, even though he's younger than me. And so people inbox me, people ask me, like, why do you do that? He's got a podcast. He's trying to get listeners. You got a podcast. You trying to get listeners. So what that tells me is we both are doing the same thing. We both trying to get to the same place. If we work together, like you mentioned earlier, Jenny, there's 8 billion people on the planet. There's no way Jenny can service them all. No way I can service them all. I may try. But there's no way.
Definitely try now.
Yeah, but there's no way. So if we all work together, there's so much opportunity. And like I say, it was like that when I had the co-working place downtown with Entre Memphis. I was begging people to open co-working facilities. People would be like, well, why? Don't you want to own the market and have it? No, because co-working is such a new thing that having just co-work Memphis and Midtown wasn't enough. I needed to have multiple co-working places. It's kind of like the street, I think it's 45th Street in New York, Jenny, where you've got, the Chinese have restaurants all next to each other. I think it's the right street. And what they do is just what you said. When I run out of duck, I go next door and get some from Jenny. And I trade, Jenny's out of eggs, I'm low on duck, we trade up. And then when we need to order duck or whatever we getting, we go in together, we put in the order. Instead of paying, $20 a duck, now we pay $8 a duck. Right? And now we can mark up our prices and everybody's making money. Everybody's doing well. So it's not, I got my restaurant, you got yours next door, and I'm going to try to find ways to put you out of business or put some fake reviews out there to get people, you know what I mean? Like, they don't do all that. It's not about the discredit. So I feel you on that, and it looks like people online feeling you on this too, because that they about to pass the collection plate around. They might have to send it your way.
Come on, collection, come on.
Yeah, one guy on Spreaker said, "I'll get the cash app." So Jenny.
To speak, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, to speak to that. And I don't know if this is one of your questions, and I'm sorry if I'm
go ahead.
Caught ahead of the horse.
No.
But what I'm doing now and what I have coming in 2019 is I'm taking all of the things that I have learned over my 10 years in business, 7 years on paper in business, and I am now helping others to become their own stylist. You want to be a stylist, you want to be a wardrobe, you want to be a wardrobe stylist, you want to be a designer, you want to be a boutique owner, whether it's online or brick and mortar. I'm taking the lessons and the mistakes that I made and the strides that I've made, and I'm taking that and putting that into a style champion program. So, like I said, whether you want to learn how to open, or if you already have a boutique and you need to know how to make that boutique more profitable. You want to be a stylist, you want to be a designer, whatever it is, I'm taking what I've learned, and like I said, the mistakes I've made, the lessons that I've learned, and I am now bringing up the next generation of boutique owners, the next generation of stylists. I am the style plug, so I'm giving it away, not giving it away, but pretty much. I mean, hey, when you think about creating an additional stream of income, I'm focusing on generational wealth. I don't need to be wealthy here right now. I mean, it can happen. I'm not turning it down.
Right.
But I'm talking about my grandkids' kids, my great-grandkids' children. I'm talking about the generations to come. What are we leaving besides a whole bunch of debt? What are we leaving besides red bottoms and Jordans? What are we leaving besides G-Wagons and Maseratis? And what are we leaving that can transcend the generations and, multiple streams of income? I'm teaching people how to make your boutique hit 6 figures within 2 years. It's a foolproof system, and the reason why it's foolproof is because I've done the research. I've taken the losses. I've taken the hits. I've learned what to do and what not to do, and I'm taking that and I'm giving the game away. Again, I'm not giving it. Don't come to my DM saying it's free. You said you're giving it away. I'm giving it away saying that the cost is nothing compared to what you're going to gain from it.
Right.
So, if I can groom others into creating generational wealth for their families, I feel like I've done good. Not to mention it's a lost art. Fashion and style, sewing and designing, it's a lost art. it's a way that I found that I can bring art back into the community and that I can keep our children off the streets. If I can teach someone a trade, for instance, learning how to sew, doing something and creating something with their own two hands, and it's going to keep them from going out there and robbing and killing and stealing and doing, feeling like they've got to fit into a game for money or things of that nature. I've done good. It's just one. It's just one in my lifetime that I saved. I feel that I've done good. So 2019 is about generational wealth. It's about community building and bringing things back to the community that are lost. Life skills, budgeting. Shout out to Lynn Whitney Williams. She has a new program, about budgeting and credit repair and things of that nature, financial literacy. Let's bring these things back. Forget sex education. Forget, how to rap a song and how to twerk and all of that. Let's bring back life skills. Let's bring back financial literacy and change these generations. That's what I'm about in 2019 and forward.
Yep, and there you go. And again, our guest is Jenni Graham here on the Minding Your Business podcast. And Jenni, what are, as we kind of wrap up, what are, some things, as people are rounding out 2018 and 2019, and it definitely sounds like you've got your plan well in play, and I've seen you, as you've posted, working with youth. So I've seen the proof of what you're doing even already before we get to 2019. But, what are one or two things as far as nuggets that you leave for people as they round out this year? Some people have stated they had a tough 2018. Some people had a phenomenal 2018 and everything in between. People have experienced loss and, close loved ones and friends and things like that. Some people have had great gains and experienced some great joys. But what are some things that you would share with folks as they're rounding out this year and they're going to 2019?
Well, I would say take a moment to reflect. And a lot of times when we come to the end of the year, we do our vision board parties and, we do our New Year's Eve celebration and we post our memes on social media about what we're not going to do in the next year.
Right.
And then by February or March, it all fizzles out and we're back to what the things that we were doing in the previous year that we said we're not going to do until the next year. So what I would say is take a moment to reflect on what things you did good this year, what things you enjoyed about this year, and how you can do those better. Because it's so easy to say, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that. But what about those things that you did well that you can say, I'm going to do better going into 2019 and going forward? I'm not doing a vision board party this year. What I am doing is something called a vision of style.
Okay.
So we're taking the vision board off of the paper and into real life. So I'm going to get some groups of women together. We're going to have dinner, of course, but we're going to find out how to transcend from this year's style into next year's style, and not just physical style, but mentally, financially, emotionally, and how we can do that different. So what I would say is don't say all the things you're not going to do in 2019. Think about what you did well for the previous years and figure out how you can do those things better as opposed to just posting these pictures on your vision board and that vision board sitting in the corner. I'm looking at mine from last year now. I can say some things did come to fruition, but how can we be more intentional about real life as opposed to just a cute vision board party?
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely with you there. Listen, Jenni, thank you so much. For people that want to get in contact with you, and I encourage Minding Your Business Nation, anytime we have people on the show or people that I shout out or I post links, I encourage people to do business with them, and I like to lead by example with that. So how can people get in touch with you, whether they're interested in things, they're interested in partnering with you, they have ideas, they're interested in leveling up their style? How can they get in touch with you?
Well, if you are on social media and if that's what you use most of all, then what I am on is you can find me on Instagram, and you can join our stylish tribe of over 10,000, I don't call them followers, I call them people that we connect, 10,000 connections. But you can find me on Instagram at JChic, CHIC Lifestyle. That's JChic Lifestyle. And you can also visit my website where you'll find all things style at www.jchiclife.style. And if you are not on social media, you can always go to my website, and it will connect you with my feed, so you can find all of my information there. You can schedule consultations there. You can see what we have coming up next. So social media is Instagram at JChic Lifestyle, and my website is www.jchiclife.style.
Excellent. And that information will be in the show notes, Minding Your Business Nation. So you'll be able to find that in the show notes for this episode when it does post later on today on all the various podcast platforms. So, Jenni, listen, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I know you're extremely busy here on a Friday, so I appreciate you taking time with me and with the podcast audience. Best wishes to you as we round out 2018 into 2019. If any of us, myself, or anybody within my faction could be a resource for you, we're just a inbox or a phone call or a text away. So
as always, Ron, and best wishes to you and minding your business as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jenni. We'll talk soon, okay? Be good.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, so that was Jenni Graham with JChic Lifestyle. Make sure that you get with her at JChic Lifestyle on Instagram or www.jchiclife.style. Make sure that you do that. All right, so as we wrap up, y'all, thank you so much again to Pearl Walker, to Jenni Graham. Let me wrap up with this with Ron's rundown, okay? Here's the deal. As we're wrapping up 2018 and you're going into 2019, there's a few things I want you all to keep in mind. Now, I'm not saying this based on something just that I've read or because I'm so smart or so anything. We're all in this together. And as I mentioned earlier with our guest, I know many of you have experienced loss. You've lost money in business. You've lost family members. And it's not so much that you lost. You've had transition. You've had evolution. You've had, like I mentioned, family members. You've had maybe children. You've had a parent or parents, grandparents. You've had transition on the job. You've had transition in your business. You've made some mistakes. You've had some great joys. You made some great decisions on some things that panned out that are setting you up for the next level. You've learned from mistakes, challenging times, things like that, and everything in between. One thing that I'll leave you with as we round out this year, y'all, is don't beat yourself up so much for 2018. Don't be fearful of being able to openly say that you made a mistake or that you came up short. One of the things that I found that has helped me with managing emotion and things like that is, and I'll go back to my sports days, you got to be able to go on to the next play. All right, you can't sit around and stew and try to figure out why this happened and why that happened and why that person said this and why that person did that. You've got to be able to take the lessons from things, and you've got to be able to apply that and move forward. You're not going to be able to run towards your destination looking backwards. You're going to run into something, you're going to trip over something. You've got to be able to take those things and then be able to move forward. So whatever happens, whether you've had great joys, whether you've had some sorrows, everything in between. Maybe that financial plan that you put together early in the year, maybe it didn't pan out. Maybe you didn't make the best of decisions financially. Maybe you didn't make the best decisions with your spouse, with your children, with the rest of your family, with your friends. Maybe there's some missed opportunities that you had. Maybe you took advantage of an opportunity, but you see on the horizon that you've got to be ready for the next thing. Be able to take those things, learn from 2018, and be ready. Don't wait till January 1st. Be ready today. Be ready today. Start now by progressing forward. Forgive yourself for those mistakes. Because one of the things that we're bad at is everybody else forgive you except you. You got to forgive yourself, and then move forward. Okay, 2019 is going to be a very interesting year. There's going to be a lot of things going on. It's going to be possibly even a noisier year. But you've got a great opportunity. You're still here, man. You've got a great opportunity to progress forward. Don't be petty. Don't be, all this other stuff. Be able to move forward and prosper. And like Jenni said, look at what are you building, not just for yourself, but what are you building for others and for your next generation? Whether you have children or not, you're going to have to leave something for somebody. And what are you leaving? What knowledge are you leaving? What impact? How are you making people feel? And then what assets or resources are you prepared to leave? If all you're going to leave people is alone and alone, that's not the way that you really want to go about this. All right? So be thinking about your future, but don't forget about the moment now. Don't get so caught up in the future that you forget to live the now. Enjoy today now. You're here, you're alive. If you're in relatively good health, maybe you've gotten past health concerns and things like that in 2018. You got the slate kind of wipes clean in 2019 and get started. But don't sit and beef and have issues with people and all this kind of thing. Be able to move on. Direct your energy in a positive light, and the energy that you give off is definitely what will come back to you. So give off that positive energy. I want to thank all of you for a great 2018 with the Minding Your Business podcast. We are up over 30,000 downloads. And like I told you, there was no big marketing plan with this. I didn't have no big, huge budget. I didn't have no 50 cent get shot 9 times marketing plan. There was no. I'm not riding anybody's coattail. It's just, I enjoy doing this. I enjoy having people being a part of it, and I hope that you find value in what's presented in the podcast. And certainly communicate with me if there's other things you like to see me do, other topics you like to see me address. Make sure that you get with me. All right. So extra long episode today. Thank you, Pearl Walker. Thank you, Jenni Graham. Their information will be in the show notes. I'm Champ Ron. Happy New Year. Happy holidays to everybody. Whatever, holidays and things that you celebrate or don't celebrate. Either way, be great for yourself. Be great for your family. Do yourself right. Do your family and friends right. Reconnect with people if you need to do that. And just enjoy life. All of us only get so much time in this hotel called life. And so what are you doing with your stay? Because you're going to check out. All right? You're going to check out. So what are you doing with your stay in your hotel? I'm Champ Ron. This is the Minding Your Business podcast. Make sure, again, you subscribe and listen. Check out the Binge Podcast Network on the Binge. That's www.onthebinge.com. Thank y'all so much. December 28th, episode 75 is in the books. I will see you again on next Friday, and there will be more Minding Your Business podcast. Entrepreneurship, real estate, trending news. There's no business like minding your own.